They told me the rules were just for safety. Don't mop past the red line, don't answer the basement phone, and if you hear breathing in the vents, pretend you didn't. I followed them. I swear I did. So why is there blood under my mop every morning, with my name written in it? I didn't take the job because I needed the money. I took it because I wanted to know what happened to the last janitor. That's the part I didn't tell HR. They called it an unfortunate disappearance. The kind of phrase people use when the truth's too ugly to say out loud. But if I'm honest, and I'll try to be, I already knew he hadn't just disappeared. People don't disappear in places like St. Augustine Memorial. They get cleaned up. My shift started at midnight. The hospital's basement was colder than outside, like the air hadn't been touched in years. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, pale, tired light flickering against walls the color of spoiled milk. The smell was bleach and something else, something metallic. The security guard, Jenkins, didn't even look at me when I signed in. He just said, "You're on your own down there tonight." He said it like a warning, or a dare. The elevator doors opened slower than they should have. I remember my reflection warping across the metal surface, stretched thin. When the doors finally creaked apart, there it was, the basement hallway, long, empty, humming like a giant refrigerator. My footsteps echoed. The silence felt heavier with every step, like the building itself was listening. The janitor's locker room was at the far end. Inside, there were only 3 lockers. One of them still had a lock hanging from it, bent and broken. The missing janitor's, maybe. Mine had a strip of duct tape on the front with my name written in black marker. When I opened it, I found the usual stuff: gloves, mop, flashlight, and something taped to the inside of the door. A sheet of yellow paper, water-stained and curling at the edges. It said, "Basement maintenance rules. Do not mop past the red line in hallway C. Never touch the boiler room door. If the basement phone rings, do not answer. Do not look into any reflective surface after 3 a.m. If you hear breathing in the vents, ignore it. Always leave by 4 a.m. sharp." There was no signature, no from management, no company letterhead. Just those 6 rules written like commandments. At first, I thought it was some kind of sick joke. Hospitals are full of dark humor. People cope how they can. But when I turned, I saw someone standing at the doorway. A nurse, short, pale, maybe in her late 20s. She was holding a clipboard, staring at me like she'd been there the whole time. "You found the list," she said quietly. I nodded, trying to sound casual. "Yeah. Guess they take janitorial safety pretty seriously down here." She didn't smile. "Those aren't for safety," she whispered. Her name tag said Mara. She avoided my eyes when she spoke, like she was talking to the air instead of me. "Don't ask who wrote them," she continued. "Just follow them. Especially Rule 3, the phone thing." I laughed a little, more out of nerves than humor. "What happens if I pick up?" Her hands tightened around the clipboard. "You don't want to know." Before I could ask anything else, she turned and walked away, fast, almost trembling. The sound of her shoes faded down the hall, and I was alone again. Only it didn't feel like alone. I looked back at the list. The edges fluttered slightly, though there was no draft. For a second, I thought the letters were shifting. Not words, but shapes. I blinked, and they were normal again. That's when I told myself I was just tired. Long day, bad lighting, imagination. But the truth? I'd been here before, not in this building, but in this feeling. That hum in your head that tells you you've made a mistake just by walking into a place. I started my rounds. The basement stretched in narrow corridors with flickering lights and peeling paint. Every sound, the hum of vents, the drip of condensation, felt alive. I passed hallway C, the one with the red line painted across the tiles. It wasn't straight. It looked hand-painted, jagged, like someone did it in a hurry. My mop bucket rattled as I stopped just before it. The air past the red line looked thicker somehow, darker, as if the light couldn't fully reach it. I leaned forward, squinting, and that's when I heard it. The faintest sound, breathing, slow, wet, rhythmic. It wasn't coming from me. I froze. Every instinct said run, but my hand reached out instead. Just a few inches over the line. The air felt colder there. My skin prickled. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned fast, but the hallway was empty, except my mop wasn't where I left it. It was standing upright, perfectly balanced in the middle of the corridor, dripping. I didn't remember letting go of it. I laughed it off. Again, told myself the floors were uneven, the bucket tilted, whatever. Logic is easy to find when you're scared. It's the only thing that keeps you from running. Still, as I walked back to the locker room, I could swear the list on the wall looked newer, cleaner, as if someone had just replaced it. I checked the clock on my phone. 2:56 a.m. 4 minutes until. I wasn't supposed to look at any reflection. I didn't even plan to, until I noticed the small mirror above the sink. My face looked pale, eyes darker than usual. Then, for just a moment, I saw another face behind mine. Someone taller, smiling. I blinked, and it was gone. The clock ticked to 3 a.m., and somewhere deep in the basement, a phone started ringing. The phone didn't stop ringing. It echoed through the basement, low, metallic, relentless, like it was vibrating through the pipes themselves. I told myself not to answer. I really did. Rule number 3 was burned into my brain already. But you know how curiosity works. It's not a whisper, it's a command. So, when the ringing stopped after 7 calls, I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt disappointed. That's when I heard the first knock. 3 slow thuds from the direction of the boiler room. The boiler room door wasn't far, maybe 20 feet down the hall, past the broken vending machine and the flickering light that always dimmed when I walked under it. Rule number 2, never touch the boiler room door. I told myself I was just checking it, just making sure everything was locked. That's all. When I reached it, I noticed something strange. The handle was warm, not room temperature. Warm, like someone had just been holding it. I crouched down, trying to peek through the keyhole. It was pitch black inside, but I swear I saw movement. Something shifting, like fabric brushing concrete. Then I heard it, a voice, faint, hoarse, right against the other side of the door. Is someone there? I jumped back. My flashlight slipped, the beam rolling across the floor. The voice came again, softer this time. Please, I can hear you. You're new, aren't you? My throat went dry. I wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't move. Who are you? I whispered. The silence after that felt longer than it should have. Then, you have my job. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. But the voice continued, calm, almost polite. You took my place. I was the janitor here before you. They said I disappeared, didn't they? Every instinct screamed to leave. But I stayed, my hand still hovering near the handle. Where are you? I asked. He gave a short laugh, broken and tired. Still here. They don't let us leave. Not once you break the rules. Something thudded inside, like a chain dragging. My stomach turned. I stepped back, shining the flashlight under the door. The beam caught something, a wrist, pale and bruised, chained to a pipe. I stumbled backward, knocking over my bucket. The sound echoed through the basement, too loud, too sharp. Don't make noise, the voice hissed. They'll hear you. They'll come. Who? I asked, but he didn't answer, just whispered, you have to clean it. You always have to clean it. The light above me flickered violently. For a second, I saw something reflected in the water pooling near my feet. A shape standing behind me. I spun around, but the hallway was empty. When I turned back, the door was slightly open. I didn't open it. I know I didn't. It was just enough for me to see the edge of a hospital gown, dirty, blood-stained, hanging off a gaunt shoulder, and eyes, wide, desperate, and wrong. I ran. I don't even remember how I got back to the main corridor, but by the time I reached the elevator, the ringing started again. The same phone, the same rhythm, except this time I heard footsteps too, not echoing like mine, but synchronized, following. I called security from the lobby phone, told them there was someone in the basement. Jenkins came down 10 minutes later with his flashlight and an attitude. He didn't find anything. No open door, no chain, no man. Just me, sweating, stammering, insisting I'd seen someone. "You sure you didn't just fall asleep down here?" he said. "Happens to the new ones sometimes." I didn't imagine it. "Right," he muttered. "Like the last guy didn't either." That line stuck with me. The last guy. He said it so casually, like there had been more than one. When he left, I went back to the locker room to grab my things. The list of rules was gone, torn clean off the wall. Only the tape remained. I told myself it didn't matter. I wasn't coming back anyway. But when I clocked out upstairs, the head nurse, Mara, was waiting. She looked pale, eyes wide like she hadn't slept in days. "Did you go near the boiler room?" she asked. I hesitated. "Why?" "Because it's open now," she said quietly. "It hasn't been unlocked in 2 years." I laughed nervously, pretending not to understand. "Then maybe someone forgot to lock it." Her expression didn't change. "They don't forget down there." I went home, showered twice, and still smelled bleach and rust. I told myself I'd quit, send a message tomorrow, move on. But when I woke up later that day, my phone buzzed with a voicemail. No caller ID, just a distorted recording. I pressed play and heard my own voice whisper, "Please, I can hear you. You're new, aren't you?" I dropped the phone. For the first time, I wondered if the man in the boiler room ever existed at all. Or if I'd been hearing something that's been inside me this whole time. Either way, I went back the next night. I had to know. I told myself it was for closure, but deep down, I think I just wanted to hear him again. I told myself I went back for answers. That's what I said out loud. But truthfully, I went back because the silence at home felt too safe. And after what I heard in that basement, safety didn't feel real anymore. When I stepped out of the elevator that night, the air hit me differently. Heavier, warmer, almost humid, like someone had been breathing through the vents all day. The lights flickered twice, just like before, but the hum had changed. It wasn't steady anymore. It was pulsing. Mara was waiting near the supply room. Her face was pale under the fluorescent light, and her eyes kept darting to the ceiling. "You shouldn't have come back," she said. I forced a smile. I didn't get to finish my shift. "This isn't a joke," she whispered. "Once you hear it, it remembers your voice." Before I could ask what she meant, she turned and walked away, clipboard clutched tight against her chest. I wanted to call after her, but the sound stopped me. A faint ringing from down the hall. That same old rotary phone mounted on the wall beside the red line. Rule 3, don't answer it. But this time it wasn't just ringing. Between the pulses, I heard something else. Breathing, slow, raspy, too close to the receiver. I tried to walk away. I really did. But every step I took, the sound got louder, clearer, like it was following me through the intercom system. When I turned the corner, the phone on that wall started ringing too. Then another, then another. By the time I reached the junction near hallway C, all the phones were ringing. Every single one. The noise was unbearable, shrill, suffocating, endless, So I did what no sane person should. I picked one up. The ringing stopped immediately. For a moment, there was only static. Then a whisper, faint but distinct. "I told you not to come back." My grip tightened. "Who is this?" "You know who it is." The voice sounded like mine. Slower, raspier, with something wet in the breath. Then the whisper changed. "Hallway C red line. Come and see what you cleaned." The line went dead. I don't remember hanging up. I just remember walking, fast, almost running, until I reached the red line again. The mop I'd left there the night before was still standing upright, perfectly balanced in the same place. And just beyond the red line, the floor was clean. Too clean, like it had just been scrubbed. Then I noticed the streaks, tiny reddish-brown smears along the tiles, like someone had dragged something heavy, or someone, toward the boiler room. I followed them, against every ounce of reason. Each step echoed like I was walking inside a throat. When I reached the boiler room door, it was already open. Inside, the light was dim and orange, flickering from an old bulb. The smell was thick, rust, smoke, and something sweet, like decaying fruit. Chains hung from the ceiling, tools on the floor, and in the middle, slumped against the pipes, was a man in a janitor's uniform. For a second, I thought it was him, the one from before, but when I stepped closer, I realized I was looking at myself, or someone who looked exactly like me. Same face, same clothes, same ID badge. I stumbled backward, heart pounding. The figure lifted its head slowly, eyes glazed like wax. "You're late," it said. Shift started at midnight. I don't remember screaming, but I must have, because the next thing I knew, Jenkins and 2 security guards were dragging me out of the basement, shouting questions I couldn't answer. "What the hell were you doing down there? There's nothing in that room but pipes. You've got blood on your hands, kid." They weren't lying. My gloves were soaked, but I hadn't touched anything. At least I didn't think I had. When they checked the CCTV footage, the screen showed only me, walking in circles, talking to the air, staring at blank walls. No other person, no duplicate, just me. They sent me home, pending investigation. I sat in my car for hours, watching the hospital lights through the rain. I kept replaying the moment in my head, the way the other me said, "You're late." Late for what? That night, I dreamed I was mopping the hallway again. Every stroke of the mop made the floor cleaner. But when I looked closer, I wasn't cleaning blood, I was spreading it. When I woke up, I found a note on my kitchen counter. Same yellow paper, same handwriting. Basement maintenance rules. 7. If you see yourself, finish the shift. There was a drop of something dark on the corner of the page. I touched it before realizing it wasn't ink. I threw the paper in the trash and told myself I was done. No more night shifts, no more hospital. But later that afternoon, I got a call. Unknown number. I let it ring once, twice. Then a voicemail came through. Hallway C still needs cleaning. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m. Only the call came while I was asleep. And the recording, it wasn't my phone that captured it. It was the hospital's. From the basement line. I didn't go back because I was brave. I went back because the message said my name, my full name, and nobody at the hospital even knew it. When the elevator doors opened that night, the basement lights were already on. Someone had been there before me. The hallway smelled like antiseptic and burnt dust. My footsteps echoed louder than usual, like the floor wanted everyone to know I was back. Mara was waiting by the supply closet, hands trembling, eyes bloodshot. She looked like she hadn't eaten or slept since the last time I saw her. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "It remembers." Her voice cracked on that last word. I tried to act calm. Mara, I just need to check something. I got a message last night. I know. That stopped me. She swallowed hard. It called me too. Same voice, your voice. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air felt thick, like the walls were listening. Finally, she whispered, "You broke the rule. You answered the phone. That's how it starts." I laughed softly, but it came out wrong, shaky. "You make it sound like a curse." "Maybe it is," she said. "Or maybe it's something worse. Something that wants to be you." I wanted to say she was insane, but the truth was, I'd started to forget simple things. What time I'd clocked in, what I'd said to Jenkins, whether I'd really gone home that morning or just dreamed I did. Mara pulled something from her pocket, a small flash drive. "Security footage," she said. "From last night. You need to see this before they erase it." In the staff lounge, she plugged it into the old computer. The video opened with the familiar grainy hallway of the basement. I watched myself walk past the red line, phone in hand. But behind me, in the same frame, another figure followed. Same uniform, same gait, same everything, except that one stopped when I did. And when I turned my head, it didn't. Mara paused the video. "Tell me you remember this." I stared at the screen, my throat dry. "That's not possible. It's not supposed to be possible," she said. "But it keeps happening. The copies never last long. They decay, but they always start with the janitor." She reached out suddenly and grabbed my wrist. "You need to leave before it replaces you completely." I yanked my arm back. "You're talking like this thing is real. It's just footage, Mara. A glitch." "Then why does your ID card keep clocking in on nights you're not here?" she asked. I didn't have an answer. The power flickered. Once. Twice. Then a sound filled the hall. Slow, heavy footsteps. Mara's eyes widened. It found us. I turned toward the doorway, but the corridor beyond was empty. Only the faint reflection of the two of us in the glass panel. Except it wasn't just the two of us. There was a third reflection. A figure standing directly behind me, face hidden, hands red to the elbows. Mara screamed. The lights went out. I don't remember running. Only the sound of her voice fading into the dark. When the lights came back, the hallway was empty. Her clipboard lay on the floor, cracked down the middle. No sign of her. I searched for nearly an hour, calling her name until my throat hurt. Nothing. The building had gone silent again, the kind of silence that presses against your skull. I found my mop leaning against the wall near the red line. The bucket beside it was full of dark water. I don't know why I touched it. Maybe because it looked too much like blood not to be. But when I lifted my hand, the water rippled. Something whispered from inside the bucket. A voice, faint but clear. "Finish the shift." I staggered backward, knocking the mop over. It clattered across the tiles, leaving a wet trail that stopped exactly at the red line. My phone buzzed. A new voicemail. I hit play. "You shouldn't have shown her the footage," my own voice said. "Now you have to clean it up." I dropped the phone. The message kept playing, distorted, until the words became just static. That's when I saw the smear, fresh and wet, leading toward the boiler room door. The same path as before. I told myself not to follow it. I even turned away. But my legs moved anyway, like someone else was walking for me. The boiler room door stood open. Inside, the orange light flickered weakly, and I thought I saw movement near the pipes. Something dragging, slow and heavy. "Mara," I whispered. No answer. Just the faint sound of mopping. When I stepped closer, I saw the floor shining wet, perfectly clean, like it had just been scrubbed. In the corner, something lay crumpled. White fabric, red stains spreading across it. A nurse's uniform. I reached down, trembling, but before I touched it, a hand shot out from the darkness, grabbing my wrist. Cold, wet, familiar. "You missed a spot," my own voice said from the shadows. I jerked free and stumbled out, slamming the door behind me. My heart hammered so loud it drowned out everything else. I ran for the elevator, but when the doors opened, all I saw was myself. Inside the elevator, smiling faintly, holding Mara's clipboard. The doors closed before I could move. Now I'm in the locker room, recording this before my shift ends. The rules are gone again, but I remember enough of them to know I've already broken too many. There's a new sound in the vents, breathing, steady and deep, like something asleep but dreaming of me. If Mara's gone, someone has to clean up, and the floor is already dirty again. The blood never really dries down here. You can mop it, bleach it, even scrape at the tiles until your knuckles split. But it always seeps back through the cracks. It's been 3 nights since Mara vanished, or maybe 3 shifts. I can't tell anymore. The clocks don't move right in the basement. The minute hand jerks forward, then back again, like it's caught between 2 moments that refuse to let each other go. I told myself I'd quit. I even packed my things, my gloves, my badge, the photo of my sister I keep in the locker. But every time I reach the exit, the elevator lights turn red and the doors refuse to open. That's when the intercom crackles with my voice, calm and patient. "You still have work to do." The first time it happened, I ran. The second time, I listened. Now, I'm not sure who's giving the orders anymore. The rules on the wall are back tonight. I found them taped neatly above my locker again, the paper clean and white like they'd never been torn down. But there's a new one scrawled at the bottom, in a different handwriting. Rule number 11, the red line is not a boundary. It's a mirror. At first, I thought it was a joke, until I noticed the red line itself. Brighter now, wet looking, as if freshly painted. It pulsed faintly under the fluorescent lights, like something alive just beneath the paint. I stood there staring until I saw movement within it, a faint shimmer, like glass flexing. My reflection stared back, but it wasn't quite right. The posture was wrong. The smile delayed, then it lifted its mop and began to clean, even though I hadn't moved. I stumbled backward. My reflection didn't. The air went cold. The lights dimmed. For a second, I thought I could hear Mara humming, soft and distant, the same song she used to hum during night shifts. But when the humming stopped, the reflection mouthed something. "Finish the shift." My phone buzzed again. A new voicemail, the same distorted voice. "Mine. You're almost ready. Just one more task. I didn't play the rest. I already knew how it would end." Still, I found myself pushing the mop bucket toward the red line. The wheels squeaked with each turn, echoing off the walls in an uneven rhythm, like footsteps following me. When I reached the line, I hesitated. The air smelled like iron and static. I leaned closer. For a heartbeat, the surface of the line shimmered like liquid, and I saw something beyond it. A hallway, identical to mine, but inverted. Lights buzzing in reverse, shadows bending the wrong way. And standing there watching me was me. Not the faint reflection I'd seen before. This one breathed, blinked, smiled. It lifted a mop, gesturing for me to cross over. The rules said not to, but the rules had already failed everyone else. So I stepped forward. The moment my boot touched the red paint, the world rippled like water. The smell of bleach turned to rust, and the tiles beneath my feet felt soft, almost flesh-like. I looked back, but the hallway behind me was gone. Everything was reversed here. The walls sweated, dripping red instead of white. The fluorescent lights hummed in low, human tones. And far down the corridor, I saw movement. Shapes crawling along the ceiling like shadows learning to walk. I kept going because the other me was waiting. When I reached him, he didn't speak. He just handed me something, Mara's badge. It was clean, too clean. Then he pointed toward a door that shouldn't have been there. Above it, in glowing red letters, was a single word. Boiler. I pushed it open. The room inside was vast, filled with machines that breathed. Every pipe throbbed like a vein. Steam hissed from vents that smelled faintly of copper and decay. And in the center, where the boiler should have been, stood a figure with its back to me, mopping in slow, perfect circles. Mara, I said. She turned. Her eyes were gone. Her mouth stretched too wide, and her voice was a whisper scraped raw. It's cleaner now. She pointed at the floor, where my own body lay face down, half submerged in dark water. My ID badge glowed faintly from my chest pocket. No, I muttered. That's not... The reflection stepped up beside me, placing a hand on my shoulder. It felt like cold glass. You can leave now, it said. I'll finish the shift. Then everything went black. When I woke, I was back in the real basement. My mop was dry. The red line had faded to a dull brown. The boiler room door was sealed shut with a chain I didn't recognize. I checked my phone. No new voicemails, but the call log said one outgoing call, time-stamped exactly when I'd blacked out. The number, the hospital's main intercom system. And now, as I write this, I can hear it echoing faintly from the ceiling speaker above me. Attention staff. New janitor assigned to night shift. Welcome back, Mara. I freeze. My name isn't Mara. I reach for the mirror beside the lockers. The reflection smiles first. Story number 2. I didn't mean to kill her. I swear I didn't. She looked exactly like me. Same hair, same scar, same voice. But when I looked into that mirror at 2:22 a.m., she smiled first. I didn't even believe in that stupid rule until the night I broke it. That's how I start the recording, staring straight into the camera, my face pale under the weak desk lamp. You can almost hear the rain outside, the kind that doesn't stop, the kind that fills in silences you're afraid to leave empty. I tell myself this is just a story, that I'm only filming this to warn people. But even as I say it, my reflection in the screen feels like it's waiting for something. Like it knows I'm lying, anyway. You've probably heard some version of the rule before. Never look into a mirror at 2:22 a.m. It's an old superstition, passed down like a bedtime threat. My grandmother used to whisper it when I was little. She'd grab my wrist with those paper-thin fingers and hiss, "That's the hour when your reflection wakes up without you." I used to laugh. I'd roll my eyes, tell her ghosts weren't real. She never laughed back. It's strange. I never thought about that rule again until last winter, the night everything started. I'd just gone through a breakup, 6 years together, gone overnight, and my apartment still smelled like her perfume. I couldn't sleep. You know that feeling when you're awake at some ungodly hour and the world feels too still, like it's waiting for something bad to happen? That was me. I remember checking the clock, 2:21 a.m., a minute away. The thing is, I didn't plan to test it. I just caught my own reflection in the dark bathroom mirror. My phone flashlight was off, but the glass shimmered faintly, like it had its own light. And I thought, why not? It's just a stupid myth. So I waited. At 2:22, the house made a sound I can't forget, like someone exhaling just behind my ear. The light flickered, and my reflection blinked half a second after I did. I know what you're thinking. Sleep deprivation, stress, imagination. That's what I told myself too. But the more I replay that moment, the less sure I am. I remember leaning closer, trying to catch up with my own reflection. Like a game, I moved my hand. It followed perfectly. I smiled. It smiled. Then I stopped smiling. It didn't. Just for a heartbeat. A tiny, impossible moment. It kept smiling. And then it caught up, like nothing had happened. I backed away so fast I hit the sink. My heart was in my throat, but I was still laughing, saying out loud, "Wow, you really need sleep, man." That's what I told myself. That's what I told them too, when they asked about the mirror later. I keep saying I broke it by accident, but I don't know anymore. The police report says I cut my hand on the shards. I told them I tripped, that it wasn't a big deal. They didn't ask why there was blood on the wall, and maybe I would have forgotten about it. Maybe it really was stress, if not for the whisper. It came the next night. Same hour, same silence. I was lying on the couch, half asleep, when I heard something faint. A voice maybe coming from the bathroom. It was so soft I almost convinced myself it was pipes, or the wind. But it said my name, twice. Evan. Look, I didn't move, didn't breathe. The clock read 2:22 a.m. When I finally dared to get up, the bathroom light was already on. The mirror was whole again. Perfect. I swear to you, I shattered it the night before. I watched the pieces fall. I swept them into a trash bag myself. But there it was. Smooth glass, not a crack in sight. And when I leaned closer, my reflection looked wrong. There was something about the eyes. They were too focused, like it was looking at someone just behind me. I said, "Stop it." I actually said it out loud to my own face, and then, God, I wish I was making this up. The reflection tilted its head to the side, slowly, and smiled again. Not the same smile as before. This one looked practiced. I didn't sleep after that. Haven't really slept since. You start noticing little things. Tiny shifts in your own habits. You wonder if you smiled first this morning, or if your reflection did. You start checking cameras, watching your own face move, timing blinks. I thought maybe if I recorded everything, I'd prove to myself that it wasn't real. That's why I'm filming this now. I keep telling myself this video is for you, for anyone stupid enough to test the rule. But honestly, maybe I just want proof I'm still me, because last night I covered every mirror in this apartment, all of them. And yet, when I turned on my phone this morning, the front camera was already open, recording, and I swear, I wasn't smiling in that clip. It's not supposed to record on its own. Phones don't just do that. That's how I open the next video. A shaky voice, low light, the lens half fogged from my breath. I sound tired, like someone who hasn't slept in days, because I hadn't. The phone sits on the desk in front of me, and I keep glancing down at it like it might come alive again. I tell the viewers, you, that I reviewed the clip frame by frame, and that's when I saw it. In the first second, I'm asleep on the couch, face turned toward the camera. The light from the street lamp outside cuts across the room in thin bands. Then around the 2:22 a.m. mark, my phone shakes slightly as if someone nudged it. The front camera focuses, and there's movement. Not mine, a blink. Too fast to be human. Like something inside the lens just adjusted its view. And then I see her. She's sitting where I am now. Same sweatshirt, same messy hair. But her head's tilted slightly, and her eyes are locked directly on the screen. Not on me. She's watching you. I tell myself it's a glitch, a reflection, some kind of mirror loop effect. I keep saying that, but even when I pause the video, even when I shut it off, I can still see her face burned into the inside of my eyelids. That morning, I tried to act normal. I went to work, smiled when people talked to me, laughed at things I didn't hear. But every reflective surface, windows, metal counters, even my coffee, caught my attention. Everywhere I looked, she was almost there. Not full reflections, just flickers, a movement half a second behind. By the time I got home, I couldn't take it anymore. I ripped the sheet off the bathroom mirror and stared into it. "Show me," I whispered. "If you're real, just show me." Nothing. Just my tired face, the faint hum of the fridge in the other room, my breath fogging the glass. I exhaled, shaky, and looked down. For a moment I felt stupid. And then, something small, almost invisible, shifted. The light behind me flickered, and I saw it. Her blink didn't match mine. It happened first. She blinked first. I stumbled back, knocking over the toothbrush cup. I remember the clatter echoing like a gunshot. My reflection stayed perfectly still. That shouldn't be possible, right? When you move, it moves. That's how mirrors work. But I stood there frozen, waiting for it to move, and it didn't. Then, slowly, her mouth opened, and even though I swear there was no sound, I heard it inside my head. "You're late." I don't remember what happened next exactly. My memory blanks out, like someone spliced a few seconds from the film of my life. When I came to, the lights were off and I was sitting on the bathroom floor with glass dust all over my hands. The mirror wasn't broken this time, just cracked down the middle, like a vein. That night, I called my ex. I don't even know why. Maybe I wanted to hear a real voice again. She didn't answer, but her voicemail came on. The same message as always. Hearing her voice felt wrong now, like I was listening to someone I used to be. After that, I turned every light on in the apartment and sat awake until morning. When the sun came up, everything looked normal again. The crack in the mirror was gone, perfectly smooth. I started recording myself constantly, just to feel safe. I told the audience I was doing an experiment, but it wasn't that. I just needed proof that I wasn't losing it. But the camera started catching strange things. Tiny shifts in my posture when I wasn't moving. Shadows flickering in corners that didn't exist. In one clip, my reflection's lips moved when mine didn't. It said something short, 2 syllables, but I couldn't read them. I looped it for hours. I think it said, "Come back." The next few days blurred together. I kept trying to tell myself it was just stress, or maybe grief. I started to believe it, until the messages began. They came from an unknown number, late at night. Just images, photos of my own apartment, but taken from inside the bathroom. The first one showed the sink, the second, my bedroom door, the third, me, asleep. And in every photo, my reflection was visible somewhere. In the doorknob, in the screen, in a piece of glass, always smiling. I deleted the messages, but they kept coming back, even when my phone was off. I tried covering every mirror again, every single one. I taped black plastic over the windows, but I could still feel her, the way you feel static before lightning hits. I don't think she's trapped in the mirror anymore. I think the glass was just a doorway. When I looked in the bathroom last night, my reflection wasn't there. Just an empty room. I should have been terrified, but I wasn't. For the first time, I felt calm, relieved even, because if she wasn't in there anymore, then maybe she's out here. This morning, I woke up to find the mirror uncovered again. The plastic was torn neatly, not ripped, peeled back, like someone had done it carefully, and written on the glass, in faint letters that looked like fogged breath, were the words, "You blinked." I don't remember writing it. I don't think I did. But when I raised my hand to wipe it away, my reflection didn't follow. She just smiled. Soft. Patient. Like she'd been waiting for me to finally notice. She's here with me right now. You can't see her, but she's here. That's the first thing I say in the new recording. The light in my apartment has changed. It's colder, bluish, like dawn refusing to arrive. My voice sounds softer, almost gentle, like I'm explaining something I've already accepted. I look over my shoulder every few seconds, not because I'm scared, but because I'm making sure she's listening. I tell you, the audience, that I haven't slept in 3 nights. Every time I close my eyes, I feel her standing next to me, breathing in sync with mine. Sometimes when I wake up, my lips are sore, like someone's been smiling for me in my sleep. I keep saying her name, though I never told you what it is before. It's Eva, same as mine. I say it fits, doesn't it? Like we were meant to be the same person. Maybe we always were. It started 2 nights after the message on the mirror. You blinked. I was recording another video, trying to prove that nothing supernatural was happening. I set up my phone across from the couch, turned off the lights, and hit record. When I watched the footage later, I saw her sitting right beside me. Same clothes, same posture, same scar above the eyebrow. Only one difference. Her eyes were open the entire time. I never saw her blink. Not once. I know how crazy it sounds, I know. But the line between real and reflection is so thin now it doesn't matter anymore. I started talking to her. At first, I whispered. Stupid, nervous questions like, "Why are you here?" or "What do you want?" She didn't answer with words, but things around the room would shift. My phone would slide a few inches closer. The mirror would tilt slightly on its hook. The light bulb would flicker twice, like a blink. And I realized that was her way of talking, through echoes. The next morning, I found a note under my door, just a piece of paper folded neatly in half. In faint pencil, it read, "Stop filming me." No signature, no handwriting I recognized. I laughed at first, maybe a prank from a neighbor, maybe I was finally cracking. But when I looked up at the camera feed, the lens was fogged, like someone had breathed against it. And there, faintly written in condensation, were the same words. "Stop filming me." I told myself I'd stop. I even packed up the camera that night, but around 2 a.m. the walls started to click, not creak, click, rhythmic, intentional, like someone was snapping their fingers behind the drywall. I couldn't take it. I turned the camera back on. That's when I saw her again, standing in the hallway behind me. Not moving, just there. I froze. The air felt heavy, like the oxygen was being pulled toward her. I whispered, "Eva?" Her head tilted slightly. That same patient smile spread across her face. And then, in a voice that didn't sound like mine, didn't sound like anyone human, she whispered back, "You called me first." I remember the exact chill that rolled through me when she said that. Because she was right. I had called her in that first night when I challenged the mirror. I asked her to show me. Now she was showing me everything. After that, I stopped recording videos. The line between her and me was blurring too fast. I'd catch myself saying things I didn't remember later. Sometimes my hands would move on their own, tracing shapes on fogged glass or the wall. She wanted me to see something beyond the mirror. The next time I looked, it wasn't just her reflection anymore. The space behind the glass looked deeper, darker, like a tunnel, and in it were more of them, dozens, maybe hundreds, faces pressed against the other side, whispering the same phrase over and over. "You blinked first." I smashed that mirror. Again. But I don't think it mattered. When I turned around, the cracks in the glass were still there, in the air, like the world itself was breaking. I see her more clearly now, even in daylight. She walks where I walk, pauses when I pause. Sometimes when I'm talking, I'll hear an echo that finishes my sentence differently. It's like we're taking turns being real. Yesterday, I went outside for the first time in weeks. I thought maybe if I got away from the mirrors, from the house, I could escape her. But every car window, every shop display, every puddle, she was there. Sometimes smiling, sometimes just watching. Once, in the reflection of a bus window, I saw her turn her head when I didn't. She looked straight at me and mouthed, "You can't leave without me." I ran home after that. I don't even remember the route. Tonight, I decided to film again. You can see me shaking, but I'm calmer than I've been in days, because I finally understand what she wants. She doesn't want to hurt me, she wants in. She's been waiting for me to give her permission, to stop resisting. And honestly, I'm tired of fighting, so if you're watching this, if you ever wake up at 2:22 a.m., don't look in the mirror, don't call her name, don't try to prove she's not real, because once she knows you're watching, she starts watching back, and once she blinks first, you stop existing second. If this is the last thing you ever hear from me, just remember, I didn't let her in. She took me. The video opens in near darkness. The frame jitters slightly, like the phone is being held by trembling hands. A single lamp flickers in the corner, making the shadows ripple across the room like liquid. My voice sounds lower now, strained, half whisper, half breath, the kind of voice people use when they're not sure who else might be listening. I start by saying it's been 3 days since the last recording, 3 nights without sleep. The apartment smells like wet dust and metal. Every reflective surface is gone. The mirrors, the TV screen, even my phone display is cracked so I can't see myself. But somehow, she's still finding her way through. I tell you, I hear her at night now. Not from the mirror, but from inside the walls. Fingertips dragging softly along the plaster like she's tracing the shape of the room. Sometimes she hums. Sometimes she whispers my name in that almost affectionate way, stretching it out like a lullaby. Last night, I woke up to find condensation on the wall above my bed, like someone breathing through it from the other side. I wiped it away, and underneath, faintly scratched into the paint, were the words, "Let me finish the smile." I thought destroying the mirrors would end it. That was the plan. The glass was the doorway. I was sure of it. So I took a hammer to every piece of reflective surface left in this apartment. The sound of shattering glass was almost relieving at first. Every crash felt like a small victory, until I realized the pieces didn't fall right. They didn't scatter. They shifted, sliding toward each other on the floor, aligning like magnets. I could hear them hum. And when I looked down, all those broken pieces were forming something. Not a reflection, a shape, a face. Hers. I ran into the hallway, left the lights off. The power had started flickering anyway. Everything in the building felt charged, humming with low, invisible current. From behind me, I heard the faintest crunch of glass under bare feet. I froze. She was standing in the doorway. The broken glass had stitched itself together behind her, forming a tall, fractured mirror that reflected her but not me. The shards shimmered like liquid silver, pulsing faintly with every breath I took. Her eyes glowed faintly, not with light, but with movement, constant, restless blinking. I couldn't tell if it was her eyes doing that or the fragments around her. "You broke my home," she whispered. "So I made yours." I dropped the hammer. It didn't even hit the floor. It just disappeared mid-air, swallowed by the reflection between us. I remember stepping back, but there was nowhere to go. Every surface, every wall, every speck of glass dust in the air shimmered faintly like static. My whole apartment had become a living mirror. She stepped forward, but the reflection didn't match. When she moved, I didn't. When she spoke, her voice came from inside my chest, not from across the room. "You don't get to leave me again," she said. I shouted. I don't even know what. Words blur together when your own echo answers differently. I think I screamed, "You're not real!" And she laughed. Soft, pitying. Then why am I holding you? I felt something cold press against my wrist. When I looked down, I saw her hand wrapped around mine, pale, translucent, but solid. The edges of her skin shimmered like frost on a window pane. The world tilted then, my vision split, like watching two movies on the same screen. In one version, I was still standing in my living room, hammer at my feet. In the other, I was inside the mirror, pounding on the glass. My own voice screamed back at me. Let me out! But she, the other me, smiled through the surface, calm and unbothered. You blinked first, she mouthed. The recording skips there. A flicker, like a corrupted file. When it resumes, I'm sitting on the floor. The mirror behind me is cracked, blood streaked. My hands are shaking, one of them bleeding, though I don't explain how. I tell you, the viewers, that it's finally over, that she's gone. I keep repeating it, like saying it enough times might make it true. But then, mid-sentence, I stop and look off screen. My eyes widen just slightly. No, that's not static. Then silence. You can still hear faint breathing. But the voice that follows doesn't sound quite like mine anymore. It's softer, smoother, like something learning how to speak human again. He didn't listen, it says, but maybe you will. The figure on screen, who looks like me, walks up to the broken glass. Her movements are too fluid, too symmetrical. She reaches out, touches the mirror, and the reflection ripples like water. It's quiet in here now, she whispers. You can come see for yourself. Then she looks straight at the camera, straight at you. Her smile widens, slow and deliberate, until it stretches just a little too far. And faintly, beneath the static hum, you can hear the clock ticking. 2:21, 2:22. The screen flickers once more. The final frame freezes on her reflection, alone, whispering one last line. Your turn. Story number 3. People think we found something on that island, but the truth is, it found us. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be alive right now. The others, yeah, they didn't make it back. Or maybe they never existed. I don't remember anymore. I've watched the footage 100 times and I still can't remember whose idea it was. Mara says it was mine. I keep telling myself it was hers. But maybe the island doesn't care who started it. Maybe it just needed someone to follow the map. The screen flickers. A shaky frame of moonlight hitting wet pavement. My voice overlaps the footage, unsteady, trying to sound casual like I'm doing a travel vlog. But there's that tremor underneath, like I already know how it ends. We were in my apartment that night, rain tapping the windows, the dull blue glow of my laptop lighting up our faces. Mara leaned over my shoulder, her eyes wide. You see it too, right? That's not on any chart. She was right. The island wasn't marked on any map. Not on Google, not on any nautical record. Just a grainy post buried deep in a forgotten forum, with a hand-drawn sketch that looked older than the internet itself. Lines that bent wrong, coastlines that didn't match. In the corner, written in trembling ink, "Do not land." I should have closed it then, should have laughed it off. But Mara wasn't the type to walk away from weird. She leaned closer, whispering like she didn't want the map to hear us. We should go. Those 3 words, that's all it took. I keep saying it was her idea, but there's a clip, later, when I reviewed the footage, where my voice says, "I found it. I just wanted to see if it was real." So maybe it wasn't her after all. Maybe it was me. Cut to footage, the dock before sunrise. The camera shakes as I laugh into it, pretending I'm calm. So yeah, here we are, idiots with a boat and a death wish. Mara waves from behind me, wrapped in a red jacket that looks almost black in the early light. You can't see her face clearly, just the glint of her smile and the fog rolling behind her like it's chasing us. The engine coughs to life. The ocean spreads out, flat, endless, grey. I remember thinking it looked too still. No wind, no sound. Even the seagulls were gone. We kept the camera running the whole time like proof could protect us. Mara joked about YouTube clicks. If we disappear, she said, at least we'll go viral. Her laugh cut through the static. Too sharp, too forced. I laughed too, but my reflection in the cabin window didn't. Somewhere, an hour out, the GPS stopped working. The screen froze on a blank stretch of sea. Theo's voice came through the radio. He was supposed to meet us at the mainland later, but his signal broke apart mid-sentence. That was the last time I heard him clearly. Mara said it was just interference, but I swear underneath the static there was something else. Something like breathing. At one point I filmed the compass. It was spinning slowly, lazy circles, like it didn't care about direction anymore. Mara teased me. Relax, Captain. Maybe it's just magnetic rock. But there wasn't any rock. Just open water, silver and silent. And then a sound, soft, deep, rhythmic, like waves but not quite. I turned the camera, scanning the horizon. Nothing. But when I played the audio back later, there were whispers under the surf. One of them, faint, sounded like my name. That's when Mara noticed the pattern on the map matched the shape of the clouds above us. Perfectly. Every curve, every jagged coastline mirrored in the sky. She said it was beautiful. I said it felt wrong. She didn't answer, just stared into the fog as if she could see something moving inside it. I remember the moment the island appeared. 1 minute, nothing but sea. The next, it was there. A black smear rising from the mist, covered in twisted trees that looked like hands reaching out of the ground. No birds, no sound. Just that endless breathing again, louder now, coming from the direction of the shore. Mara grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. You feel that? She asked. I nodded, but I didn't know what she meant. There was no wind, no movement, just pressure, like the air itself was pushing back. The footage turns grainy around here, maybe because I dropped the camera when the boat hit the shallows. You can hear Mara laughing, too loud, too sudden, like she's trying to cover the silence. We made it, but when I replayed the video, her laugh echoed for a few seconds too long, overlapping itself. Later, sitting by the fire, she asked me what I'd heard when we reached shore. I told her I didn't know, but the truth? It sounded like someone whispering, "Welcome back." I didn't tell her that. I couldn't. The last clip from that night shows Mara holding the map by the firelight. The ink looks darker now, like it's still wet. She says something quiet. Too quiet for the mic to catch, and the flames flare blue for a second. She laughs again, softer this time. See? Nothing to be afraid of. Then the tape cuts to static. I pause the playback. My voice trembles. I should have burned that map. I think it wanted to be found. For a moment there's silence. Only the hum of the camera. The faint hiss of the sea outside my window. Then, almost too quiet to hear, just under my breath. Or maybe it was never a map. The light in the room flickers. The audio crackles like something breathing close to the microphone. I turn the camera toward the window, but there's only fog pressing against the glass. A shape moves inside it, slow, deliberate. Then the screen goes black. I didn't realize the sun never rose on that island. It only pretended to. The light there wasn't light. It was a trick, a flicker, like something else was choosing when we could see and when we couldn't. The video opens on the boat scraping against shore. The camera shakes, salt water spitting against the lens. Behind it, Mara's voice, too bright for the grey morning, cuts through the static. "We're alive! We did it!" Her words echo for a moment, swallowed by the fog. There's no sound of waves, no wind. Even the air feels thick, like breathing through cloth. I tell the camera we'll explore a bit, make camp, maybe record some drone footage. But the truth is, the silence already feels wrong. It's not the kind of quiet that comes from emptiness. It's the kind that listens back. We drag the boat onto shore. The sand is darker than it should be, oily, cold, sticking to our hands like soot. The smell is metallic, faintly sweet, like rust mixed with something living. Mara looks thrilled, feels untouched, she says, smiling into the lens. Her reflection in the viewfinder flickers once, just once. I tell myself it's the lens fogging. I pan the camera across the beach. The tree line is dense, full of skeletal trunks twisting upward into mist. Between the branches, you can see fragments of something man-made. Corrugated metal walls. A bent sign half buried in vines. The letters barely visible. Unit 7. Entry restricted. Mara grins. Military stuff. Probably old research base. Told you, this place is real. Her voice trembles on that last word. Real. She doesn't notice it, but I do. We hike toward the ruins, following a narrow trail that feels carved more by footsteps than nature. The air grows colder the deeper we go. Every few steps, there's a crunch beneath the moss. Old shoes, shattered bottles, bits of clothing buried in the mud. The camera records everything, except sometimes, when I play it back, whole seconds are missing. Gaps. Places where the image warps and the sound bends like a breath drawn too close to the mic. At one point, I film Mara standing in the middle of a clearing. She's staring at a crumpled photograph she found half buried under leaves. It shows 3 people, 2 men, 1 woman, smiling at a campfire. Their faces are blurred, as if the picture didn't want to remember them. Mara flips it over. On the back, faint pencil words. "Don't look at night." She laughs. Creepy, huh? But she keeps the photo in her pocket. By evening, the light starts dimming, not fading, but flickering. The trees cast double shadows that shift even when we don't move. I light the lantern, and that's when I notice the fog isn't just around us. It's above us too, blotting out the sky. There's no sunset, just a slow choking grey that thickens until the forest disappears. We make camp near a rusted metal door jutting from the hillside. Mara insists it's an entrance to the base, but the handle's welded shut. She presses her ear to the metal and says she hears humming. I hear nothing. The camera catches something strange. For a split second, light flickers behind the door, like a fluorescent bulb struggling to stay alive. But the island has no power, no wires, no cables, nothing. We eat in silence. The fire barely burns, smoke sinking instead of rising. Then Mara says she sees something moving near the tree line. I don't look. I just listen. There's that sound again. Breathing, slow and wet, somewhere beyond the fog. Mara, I whisper, get inside the tent. She doesn't move. Her eyes are fixed on something behind me. When I turn, there's nothing but mist. The fire flickers blue for a heartbeat, then steadies. I must have fallen asleep. When I wake up, the fire's gone out. The camera's still recording. Mara's missing. The first 30 seconds are silent. Just the fog swirling. My voice calling her name. Then faintly, her laughter comes from somewhere in the woods. Not close, not far. Just around, I grab the flashlight and start walking. The beam cuts through the mist only a few feet ahead. The air feels heavier, almost liquid. The laughter stops, then a whisper. It's not an island. Her voice, but not quite right. Slower, stretched, like it's being played backward. The ground beneath my feet shifts. The sand breathes. I swear it moves, expanding and contracting like lungs. Something crunches nearby. I swing the light and see footprints, Mara's, leading toward the metal structure. But halfway there they vanish, just stop. When she finally comes back, it's almost dawn, or what passes for dawn here. She's soaked, shivering, her jacket torn. She doesn't say where she went. Her pupils are wide, her voice soft. "It's not an island," she whispers again. "It's a mouth." Then she smiles, just barely, and stares past me like she's watching something move behind the camera. I tell her we need to leave, but she only shakes her head. "Too late," she says. "It knows we're here now." Her hands are trembling. There's mud under her nails and something red, darker than blood. I try to ask what happened, but the camera cuts out. When it flickers back, Mara's sitting by the fire again, calm, humming a tune I don't recognize. The flames burn clean white, no smoke at all. Her voice is steady now. "Go to sleep, Evan. We'll explore tomorrow." I want to ask her about Theo, where he is if he's still coming, but my throat won't work. The air feels thick again. My skin itches like it's listening. The last frame of the recording shows the lantern dimming, and for a second, just before it dies, there's a shape standing behind Mara, tall, thin, watching. "The island doesn't like light," I whisper into the lens. "It decides when you can see." The fire sputters out, leaving nothing but the sound of breathing, steady, patient, and close. I told myself I was looking for answers, but when I pressed play, what I found wasn't a recording. It was a mirror, and it didn't show what happened. It showed what I wanted to believe happened. The video starts in black, then a single frame flickers to life. The campsite abandoned. The fire pit is cold. The tents are empty. Mara's red jacket lies half buried in sand. The timestamp says 4:16 a.m., but I know that's wrong. I'd been awake at that time, sitting right there, whispering her name. So how could Theo's camera have been filming? He wasn't even with us. Not yet. I found his camera the next morning, propped against a rock near the shoreline. Battery half drained, lens cracked. It shouldn't have been there. He hadn't arrived, at least. I don't think he had. I carry it back to camp. Mara's still asleep, or pretending to be. Her face looks pale, almost translucent in the dull grey light. The map is gone. When I ask her where it is, she just says, "It moved." I don't argue. I don't even ask what that means. The camera's screen flickers as I turn it on. There's a faint whine, like it's straining to breathe. For a few seconds, static. Then, images. Us. On the island. Except the footage shows 4 people. The frame is wide, shot from the edge of the forest. I can see myself, Mara, and a third figure, blurry, faceless, standing just behind me. Theo's voice narrates quietly in the background. He doesn't see it. He doesn't see himself. I pause the video, my hands shaking. That can't be Theo's voice. It's deeper, slower, like it's being spoken underwater. I rewind, play it again. Same thing, 3 of us, and 1 more. When I show it to Mara, she doesn't look surprised. She just says, "I told you, it found us." The next clip plays automatically. It's nighttime again. The camera's pointing toward the metal door in the hill, the one we couldn't open. There's light spilling out from the edges now, pulsing like a heartbeat. Theo's voice whispers, "It's awake." I freeze the frame and step closer to the screen. Behind the door, through a slit in the rusted metal, I swear I can see movement, something shifting, pressing against the inside like it's trying to breathe through steel. The recording shakes violently, and for a second, it's not Theo's face on the reflection. It's mine, my voice whispering. It's not keeping something in, it's keeping something out. I don't remember saying that, but it's definitely my voice. Mara sits beside me, silent. Her hands twitch occasionally, like she's trying to remember how to move them. I ask her again about the map. She doesn't answer. Then she says something that makes my stomach drop. You said we'd find your father here. I tell her I never said that, but she's staring right through me, like I'm the one lying. You said he disappeared after Unit 7. You said this was his island. My father's name hasn't been spoken in years, not since they found his ship wrecked off the same coast, not since the government sealed the report. But there's a box, one I'd found in his belongings weeks ago, containing a compass, a photo, and that same hand-drawn map. I told myself I'd thrown it away. I guess I didn't. The footage cuts to another clip. Theo's voice again. He brought us here. The screen distorts. My reflection swims across the black glass, warped by static. Mara's laugh echoes faintly, only it's looped, glitching, replaying every few seconds. I try to shut it off. The button doesn't respond. The fourth figure appears again. Closer now. It's standing beside Mara, its shape long and thin, edges flickering like torn film. She looks at it, not afraid, almost reverent. We can't leave, she whispers in the video. He promised it a story. Then her head turns toward the camera. No, toward me. And even though I'm watching a recording, she's looking straight into my eyes. I drop the device. The screen keeps playing on its own, showing flashes, trees bending, sand shifting, a human shape crawling out of the fog. The whispers get louder. They sound like my name repeated over and over, overlapping until it becomes one long, wet hiss. Then silence. A single line of text appears on the screen, scribbled in white static. Stop watching. I don't. I rewind instead, forcing it to play again, needing proof. But every time, the footage changes. The fourth figure moves closer. Mara's expression shifts. First smiling, then crying, then mouthing something I can't hear. When I finally catch it, frame by frame, her lips form one word. Run. I yank the camera battery out. The light dies instantly, but the faint mechanical hum doesn't stop. It keeps going, soft and steady, like a pulse still trapped inside. That night, Mara refuses to talk. She sits by the extinguished fire, humming that same tune from before. The melody loops endlessly, off-key, like a lullaby for something that doesn't sleep. When I ask if she remembers Theo, she tilts her head. He's already here, she says. He never left. The fog creeps closer around our camp. It smells like wet metal again. I can't tell if the sound I hear is the ocean or the camera trying to breathe. I turn it toward myself, whispering to the audience, my confession, my proof, my warning. I watched the recording because I thought it would explain everything, but it only showed me what I buried. The camera's red light flickers once, like it's acknowledging me. Behind me, Mara starts laughing softly, almost lovingly. Then she says, "It's your turn to record now." The recording I shouldn't have watched. "It's still watching me," I whisper into the lens. The battery indicator flashes red. The sound of breathing grows louder until it's all there is. And somewhere in the static, someone whispers back, "You ever wake up and realize the air in your room is breathing with you? That's how I knew I didn't leave the island. I just brought it home. The camera clicks on. Static hums like distant surf. The frame tilts sideways before correcting itself. Evan's face fills the lens, eyes sunken, skin pale and glistening like he hasn't seen sunlight in weeks. He gives a shaky half smile. So, yeah, I'm home. Guess I made it out. The background doesn't look like home. The walls behind him are damp, grey, the windows fogged from the inside. Somewhere faintly water drips. Evan doesn't notice. He sets the camera down on a table. The lens catches his reflection in a mirror behind him. For a moment there are 3 reflections. He keeps talking, voice too steady to be normal. People online keep asking what happened out there. They think it was a hoax or some missing persons thing. They want the truth. He laughs softly. But truth's slippery, you know. It sticks to you. It changes shape. He picks up the camera and walks through his apartment. The lights flicker. The air feels heavy like he's moving underwater. He opens a drawer. Inside, the old compass from his father's box spins wildly. He stops it with one finger, breathing hard. It's still moving, he whispers, even when everything else stops. He looks up suddenly, staring past the lens. Mara? But no one answers. He insists Mara's alive. Says she texted him once after they got back. He shows the message to the camera. It wants another story. The timestamp says 3:07 a.m., the same minute every clip from the island used to glitch. He scrolls through his contacts, stops on Theo's name. The profile picture is static, literally static, a white noise pattern that shouldn't exist on a phone. Evan hesitates, then calls. The phone rings once. Then the same whispering he heard on the island fills the speaker. He drops the phone. The whisper doesn't stop. It crawls out of the speaker, faint but rhythmic, matching his breathing again. The camera footage jumps. He's pacing now, talking to himself, the lens trembling in his grip. It followed me, didn't it? Not her, not Theo, me. He points to the fog pressing against the window. It's been outside every night since. I hear it move around the house. The walls creak like ribs. He stops suddenly. His gaze drifts toward the window again. The camera zooms without him touching it. Outside, the fog is alive, rolling, pulsing. A shadow shifts within it, taller than the house, thin and wrong. Evan forces a laugh. See? Just fog. Just weather. But his hand trembles so badly the image blurs. That night, he sets the camera by his bed and records himself sleeping. The footage is black and white, silent except for faint breathing. At 2:54 a.m., the door creaks open by itself. At 2:56, someone hums that same off-key lullaby Mara used to sing. At 3:07, the blanket lifts slightly, like something slides beneath it, and his face twitches as if he's dreaming. When he wakes up, the blanket is dry, but his hair is wet with seawater. He starts breaking down in front of the camera. It's not nightmares, it's returning. I see sand under the floorboards. The smell of rust and salt won't leave. I think the island's trying to finish the story. He opens the drawer again. The compass has stopped spinning now. It points directly toward the window. The fog outside presses closer, the glass warping inward, bending like it's being breathed on from the other side. Evan whispers, "I told it I'd tell the story. That's why it let me go." Then his voice breaks. But stories never end. They just wait. He starts reviewing his footage again. Everything from the trip, every scream, every flicker. He freezes a frame from chapter 2, the shape behind Mara. He zooms in. The face, barely visible, is his own. Eyes hollow, mouth open like it's whispering. He stumbles backward, knocking over the chair. That's not me. That's not... He stops mid-sentence, glancing toward the window again. The fog's gone, but now there's wet sand pooling beneath the table. The next few clips are fragmented, Evan muttering, pacing, tearing pages from his father's journal. Each page has the same phrase written over and over. The mouth opens for the storyteller. He looks straight into the camera now, voice low and tired. I think it needed someone to remember it, to speak it out loud. Once you tell a story, it becomes real, right? He forces a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. So, I'll stop talking. Maybe that'll make it forget me. He reaches toward the camera, but before the feed cuts, something flickers in the reflection of the window, 3 silhouettes standing behind him. The final scene plays hours later. The camera has turned itself on again. The apartment is dark, filled with fog. The floor is coated in sand. Evan stands near the window, unmoving. His voice is calm, almost gentle. I think it wants to finish where we left off. He turns the camera toward the fog. A faint whisper answers him. Layered voices, overlapping, all speaking one word. Stay. The screen distorts. For half a second, you can see the island again. Same shoreline, same metal structure, but this time, there's a single light flickering inside, and at the edge of the frame, someone's walking toward it. Evan's voice, barely audible, speaks over the static. Maybe I never left. Then, silence. Only the sound of slow, rhythmic breathing fills the void. The camera light flickers once, then goes out. Story number 4. They told me the shipyard was abandoned, but every night I'd hear the cranes move on their own, and the ocean whisper my name. The weird part, I didn't tell anyone my name. They told me the shipyard was abandoned, but when I got there, the cranes were already moving. At least that's what I thought I saw. I'd blink, and they'd be still again. Towering shapes frozen against a bruised, fog-smeared sky. The kind of fog that tasted like rust when you breathed it in. I remember thinking the place looked like a skeleton. All ribs and hollow lungs. Broken hulls, twisted rails, corroded bolts clinging to nothing. Quiet. Too quiet. That's what I wanted. Quiet. Somewhere the past couldn't follow. The company, if you can call it that, found me online. A vague listing. Overnight maintenance, remote shipyard. Good pay, no supervision, no interviews, no background checks. Just a message telling me where to go, and that payment would be handled weekly. It sounded like a scam, honestly, but I was desperate. I'd lost my job 2 months earlier after... Well, I don't want to get into that. Let's just say I needed to disappear for a while. When I arrived, the gate was unlocked, chain rusted through. There was no one to greet me, no trucks, no footprints in the mud. Just a tiny prefab office with one flickering light bulb and a note on the desk. Welcome, Elias. Keep the generators running. Do not stay past midnight. At first, I laughed. I thought it was a prank. Who even writes notes like that anymore? But when you're standing in the middle of a dead shipyard with fog swallowing the horizon, jokes don't land the same. The first night passed quietly enough. The generators groaned, the sea lapped against the docks, and the metal cranes creaked in the wind. I told myself the noises were just the ocean breathing, but sometime after 2 a.m. I heard something else. A voice, not clear, not even loud, just there, like someone humming underwater. It came between the generator's rhythm, like a whisper threaded through machinery. I remember freezing, holding my breath, thinking maybe I was just tired. But then it said my name. Elias. Soft. Close. I spun around so fast my flashlight slipped from my hand and cracked against the ground. The beam rolled across the concrete, catching nothing but empty docks and the faint shimmer of water. My heart was pounding, but the air stayed perfectly still. I didn't sleep much after that. The next morning, I told myself I'd imagined it. Sleep deprivation, isolation, maybe even some generator feedback. That's what I said. But when I replayed the sound in my mind, it didn't feel mechanical. It felt human, like someone calling to me from beneath the waves. Still, I kept working. I'm not proud of it, but I needed the money. Every night I checked the generators, tightened bolts, marked readings. Routine kept me sane. Routine makes you forget. Except I couldn't forget, because every night around the same hour I'd hear it again. Always faint, always from the direction of the water. Sometimes just my name, sometimes something else, something that almost sounded like a question. And sometimes I answered. I didn't mean to. It just slipped out. A whisper, a what? Or who's there? But once you start responding to things you can't see, it changes you. It opens something. I told myself I wasn't scared, but that wasn't true. Fear isn't always screaming and running. Sometimes it's quieter, like holding your breath for too long because you don't trust what you'll inhale next. A few nights in, I thought I saw movement near Dock 4. A silhouette, maybe. A person walking along the edge. But when I blinked, it was gone. I convinced myself it was a trick of the fog, or maybe my own shadow warped by the floodlights. Except the lights weren't on that night. I didn't tell anyone, mostly because there was no one to tell. No supervisor, no co-workers, no emergency number. Just me and the water. And maybe that's how I liked it. You see, solitude can make you feel safe when you're trying to forget something, when you don't want questions asked. But silence, true silence, starts to feel like it's listening. I'd lie in the office some nights, unable to sleep, the walls vibrating from the distant clang of waves against metal. Sometimes I'd swear I heard footsteps on the catwalks above me, heavy, slow, deliberate. Once I even shouted for whoever it was to stop messing around. But when I climbed up there, flashlight trembling in my hand, there was nothing, just an old seagull skeleton tangled in fishing wire. That's the part that makes me doubt my own story, because now, looking back, I can't tell which things happened and which things I made up to explain the sounds. Did I really see that silhouette by the dock? Did I really hear someone whisper my name? Or did I just want to? It's strange how the mind works when it's alone. Sometimes I think the shipyard was empty. Other times I remember lights moving in the distance, pale, yellow, and slow, like lanterns floating across the water. Maybe there were other workers there, and I just never met them. Or maybe I saw something else entirely. That's the problem with memory. It shifts, it corrodes, like metal left too long in salt air. Still, I stayed. Every night, even when the fog got thicker, even when the sea started to sound more like breathing than water, because I'd made a promise to finish the job. And maybe, deep down, because I thought I deserved to be there. I didn't know it then, but the shipyard wasn't abandoned. Something was waiting, and it had already learned my name. You ever try to convince yourself something didn't happen until it starts happening again? That's what the second week at the shipyard felt like. Every night, a little more wrong. The air got heavier, the fog thicker, and the whispers clearer. I'd tell myself I was hearing the wind through the cranes, but deep down, I knew wind doesn't say your name, and definitely not in a voice that sounds young. It started small. Footprints. The first time I almost missed them. Bare feet pressed into the thin film of salt water along the dock. Small prints. Too small for a man. Too delicate for any of the workers who should have been there. I crouched down, ran my hand over them, and they filled with water instantly, like the ocean was trying to swallow the evidence. I told myself it was a prank. Someone had to be screwing with me. But the deeper I went into the shipyard, the quieter everything got. No birds, no creaking metal. Even the generators felt muffled, like the whole world was holding its breath. Then, one night, I saw her. It was just past midnight. The fog was moving like smoke, and the docks looked like they were floating on clouds. I was doing my rounds when I noticed a shape standing in the dry dock. Tall shadows stretching from the floodlight behind me. She stood ankle deep in stagnant water, her hair plastered to her face, her arms hanging limp at her sides. I froze. She didn't move, didn't speak. "Hey!" I shouted, forcing my voice to sound braver than I felt. "You're not supposed to be here!" Nothing. I took one step forward, the sound echoing across the dock. The figure tilted her head slightly, just enough for the light to catch her face, eyes wide open, mouth slack, skin pale as sand. And then she was gone. No splash, no footsteps, just empty water. I told myself I imagined it. I had to. Maybe it was fog refracting light. Maybe my brain misfired. But when I climbed down into the dock, I found something floating in the water. An old torn ribbon. Sea green, frayed at the ends. I kept it. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I'd prove she was real. Maybe I already knew she was. The next day, I searched the office, looking for anything. Records, logs, something to tell me who might have been here before. There was one ledger tucked behind a file cabinet, its pages swollen with damp. I flipped through it, dates fading to nothing, names blurred until one line stood out. Marin Lawn, dockhand, missing, July 1994. The ink bled where someone had underlined missing. I don't remember breathing for a full minute after that. The air just left. I kept telling myself it was coincidence. Maybe someone else wandered through here. Maybe those prints weren't hers. Maybe I didn't actually see her at all. I even tried talking out loud while I worked to drown the whispers. It helped for a while. Until the third night. That night, I heard crying. Soft, broken sobs coming from beneath the dock. The kind of crying you try to muffle so no one knows you're there. I grabbed my flashlight and leaned over the edge, scanning the black water. Marin. I don't even know why I said her name. It just slipped out, like my tongue already knew it. The crying stopped. Then came the bubbles. Just a few at first, then dozens, breaking the surface in a circle right below me. I stumbled back, my flashlight slipping from my grip again, beams spinning across the planks. And in that split second of flickering light, I saw her face under the water, eyes open, lips blue, hair floating like seaweed. I ran. I don't remember reaching the cabin. I don't remember locking the door. I just remember the sound, the slow, deliberate knocking, 3 times, not frantic. Calm. From underneath the floorboards. I sat there until dawn, holding the ribbon in my hand, my breath fogging the window. The next morning, I told myself it couldn't have been real. I even laughed, said it out loud just to make it sound smaller. You didn't see anything, Elias. You're tired. You're hearing things again. Again. That word slipped out before I realized it. I froze because I told myself I left all that behind. The voices, the sounds that used to come before things went wrong. But maybe they hadn't stopped. Maybe they just moved with me. The 4th night, I found the water pump running even though I'd switched it off. A trail of wet footprints led from the dry dock to the office. I followed them with the flashlight, my chest tightening with each step. They ended at my door, bare, small and fresh, and then they vanished, not faded, not dried, gone, like whoever made them had been standing there a moment ago listening. That's when I started talking to her. Not out loud, not at first, just in my head. Questions I didn't want to ask out loud. What do you want? Why me? Sometimes the ocean answered. Sometimes it was just the wind. But one night, while I was recording the generator's hum trying to capture proof of something, the tape picked up a voice. Behind me, a whisper. You came back. It wasn't a question. I replayed it over and over until sunrise. every nerve in my body burning. And yet, even now, part of me wanted to believe it. Because when you've done something unforgivable, hearing someone, anyone, call your name feels like a kind of mercy. But the ocean doesn't forgive. It remembers, and Marin Lawn wasn't done remembering. They say isolation makes you hear things, but what if isolation just clears the noise long enough to let you finally hear what's always been there? That's how it started, the blurring. By the third week, I couldn't tell when the nights ended and the mornings began. The fog swallowed the sun whole, and my clock stopped working on its own. The hands just froze at 12:03 midnight maybe, or maybe it never stopped being midnight after that. I started recording myself, audio logs like proof that I was still sane. Each night I'd sit by the generator and talk into my tape recorder. Day 12, I'd whisper, maintenance check complete. Still no sign of anyone else. I wanted a record, something to keep me tethered, but when I played the tapes back, there was always another voice. Not loud, more like an echo layered beneath mine. I'd say, all quiet tonight, and underneath, barely audible, I'd hear it breathe. Liar. I deleted the first few recordings, but after a while, I stopped trying to hide it. It was part of the shipyard now, or maybe part of me. The wet footprints came back too. Only this time, they didn't lead to my door. They started from it. I woke one morning to find the office floor glistening, water pooling beneath my boots. The door was open just slightly and the air smelled like salt and rust. When I stepped outside, I saw it. The trail leading down to the dry dock. Same small bare prints as before. But this time, they weren't fresh. They were bleeding. I followed them anyway. I had to. The fog was so thick it swallowed my flashlight's beam within inches. I walked slow, each step echoing, the sound too loud in the emptiness. I thought about calling her name again, Marin, but I didn't trust what would answer. At the dock's edge, I found the rope ladder hanging into the pit. The water below shimmered dark and still. I should have turned back. But then I heard it again. That voice from beneath the water. Only now it wasn't crying, it was laughing. That laugh followed me down the ladder. The air grew colder the lower I went. My boots splashed into knee-deep water, and the flashlight flickered. The sound of dripping metal echoed all around, rhythmic, almost like breathing. The walls of the dock were slick with algae, and somewhere deeper, water was moving. Slow, deliberate, like something alive. And then I saw them. Wet handprints along the wall. Small. Pale. Leading into the maintenance corridor that ran beneath the dock. I didn't even know it existed until then. The hatch had always been sealed shut, but now it hung open, rusted bolts torn free. I remember whispering, "How?" Then the lights cut out. For a heartbeat, there was only black water and my own pulse thundering in my ears. And then a whisper, right next to me, Elias. It wasn't coming from behind or above. It was inside the corridor under the water. My body moved before my brain did. I dropped the flashlight and waded in, water climbing to my waist, then my chest. I tried to keep breathing, but the air was thick, heavy, and wrong. Every sound seemed too close, too personal. "Who are you?" I yelled, though I already knew. No answer, just that faint, warped laughter again, bubbling up from below. I turned to climb back out, but the ladder was gone. I swear it was gone. I shone my light where it should have been and saw only wet wall and shadow. That's when panic took over. I waded deeper into the corridor, trying to find another way out, but every few feet the water grew darker, thicker, colder. And then something touched my leg. Not seaweed, not debris, fingers. I screamed and stumbled forward, the water rising to my chin. I dropped the flashlight. It sank, beam fading into the murk. and in that fading light I saw her face, just below the surface, eyes open, watching me. Marin. She didn't speak, didn't move, but behind her, in the darkness, shapes shifted. Other faces, distorted, unrecognizable, staring from beneath the ripples. I bolted. I don't remember how I made it back. Just that when I crawled out onto the dock, I was drenched, coughing, shivering, and the ladder was right there where it should have been, perfectly intact. That's when I realized the shipyard was changing me. I started hearing the whispers even when I was awake. They'd slip between my thoughts, finishing my sentences. Sometimes they sounded like Marin. Other times, they sounded like my sister. I didn't tell you about her, did I? Her name was Clara. She drowned when we were kids. At least that's what the police report said. But I still see her sometimes. Just a flash, the hem of her dress under the water. Maybe that's why I came here. Maybe I thought working by the ocean would make it easier to forget. But the ocean doesn't forget. It waits. That night, I replayed one of the recordings again, the one from the corridor. I wanted to prove to myself it wasn't real. But halfway through the playback, my own voice started. Arguing, I said, "Is anyone there?" And then, my voice answered, "You shouldn't have come back." I dropped the recorder. I didn't sleep after that. The walls of the office pulsed with the sound of waves, the ceiling dripping even though it hadn't rained in days. My reflection in the window didn't move when I did. It just stared, water pooling around its feet. That's when I decided to end the recordings. But the last one, day 19, still plays in my head. I don't remember saying the words, but I hear them every time I close my eyes. She's not the one drowning. And then, static. I don't know what it means. I don't want to, but the tide's been higher lately, creeping closer to the office door each night. The whole shipyard groans now, like it's sinking inch by inch. I keep telling myself I'll leave. Tomorrow. Just one more night to pack my things. But when I stand at the water's edge and listen, I can hear them again. The voices under the tide, and somewhere in there, I swear I hear my sister whisper back, "Stay." You ever wake up and realize the world sounds heavier, like the air's soaked with something it shouldn't be? That's how the last night began. The rain wasn't falling anymore. It was pouring upward, or at least that's how it looked through the window, sheets of water sliding against gravity, dragging fog with them. Every surface dripped, every pipe moaned. The shipyard was drowning, and I was the only one left to watch. I don't even remember lying down the night before. One moment, I was staring at the recorder on my desk, promising myself I'd leave in the morning. The next, I was standing knee-deep in water, flashlight flickering, sirens blaring somewhere far beyond the fog. The tide had swallowed half the yard. The cranes leaned like drunk giants, their metal arms groaning as the wind shoved them. The ocean was no longer behind the docks. It was inside them. I told myself it was just a storm. But then I heard her voice again. "Elias." I turned toward the sound. She was standing on the dock, barefoot, soaked, hair plastered to her face. Marin, or what was left of her. Her eyes reflected the floodlights, hollow and endless. I wanted to run, but my legs refused. All I could do was whisper, "Why me?" She tilted her head. Then she smiled. Faint, almost kind. "You came back." The words hit like cold water. Back? I'd never been here before. At least I didn't think I had. But then the smell of salt filled my mouth. And suddenly, I wasn't in the shipyard anymore. I was on a pier. Years ago, the wood was slick, the night alive with the hum of crickets and the crash of waves. A girl's laughter, my sister's, echoed somewhere behind me. She was 14, all light and motion, spinning near the edge of the dock, saying, "Bet you can't catch me." I shouted something back, I don't remember what. And then she slipped. The splash, the scream, the silence after. I remember the flashlight falling from my hand, same as it always does. The beam spinning, catching her face for one terrible second before it vanished beneath the water. And then, me, standing there, doing nothing. No, that's not right. I didn't just do nothing. I took a step back. That's what I never told anyone. Not the police, not my parents, not even myself. I let her drown because I was angry, because she was laughing when I wasn't, because part of me wanted her to stop. And when the water closed over her head, I said her name once, just once, and then walked away. The sound of the waves snapped me back. The shipyard was shaking now, the storm howling like an animal. Marin, or maybe Clara, I couldn't tell anymore, was still standing on the dock, motionless, eyes fixed on me. "You're not her," I said. "You're not Marin," she didn't answer, just stepped closer, one bare foot pressing into the rising water. That's when the floodlights blew out. Darkness, thunder, a rush of wind that felt like breath against my ear. "You remember now." The whisper came from behind me, but when I turned, the water was moving on its own. Shapes forming beneath the surface, hands reaching, pale faces breaking through for seconds before sinking again. I stumbled backward, tripping on a rope coil, my head slamming against the railing. The world spun, and in that dizzy blur I saw them, not ghosts, not strangers, me, dozens of versions of myself, half submerged, watching, their mouths open but silent. Each one looked older, thinner, more eroded, like time itself had been chewing on them. "Stop!" I shouted. "Stop, I get it, I get it." But the voices didn't stop. They rose in a single roar, waves crashing, whispering, crying, until one voice cut through the noise, clear and sharp. "You're the one who drowned, Elias." I dropped to my knees. The water reached my chest now, icy and rising fast. My lungs ached, my eyes burned. I tried to crawl toward the office, toward the light, but it was gone. Everything was gone except the sea. I remember looking up once more, trying to find the sky, but all I saw was her face hovering above the surface, calm and still, hair floating like ink. "I'm sorry," I said. "Please." She blinked slowly, almost tender. "Then come back." The water surged, dragging me under. Cold closed around my throat, my ears filled with the rush of current and static. I tried to fight, but something about it felt right, like returning to a place I'd been avoiding my whole life. When I opened my eyes underwater, I saw her clearly for the first time. Marin, Clara, both, neither. Her lips moved, but the sound came from inside my head. The ocean remembers what you bury, and then nothing. Silence. They found the shipyard 2 days later, half submerged. The storm had passed, but the place was ruined. Equipment overturned, cabins flooded. The Coast Guard report said they found my cabin empty, door open, recorder still running. The tape captured only static for the first hour. Then a voice, mine, soft, distant. She wasn't the one drowning. After that, the sound of waves, just waves, though if you listen closely, really closely, right near the end, there's a whisper, Elias.